The crisp winter air of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, usually carried the sweet scent of pine and the distant chime of sleigh bells during the holidays, a nostalgic echo of Christmases past. But that year, the festive cheer felt thin, almost transparent, unable to mask the bitter sting of disappointment. My name is Eleanor Vance, and I was 27, thriving in my career, and deeply in love with my boyfriend, David. We had built a comfortable life together in our cozy apartment, a sanctuary filled with shared laughter and quiet understanding. Christmas was our favorite time, a period of genuine warmth, generous gestures, and heartfelt surprises. David was a man of immense thoughtfulness. A few years prior, I had surprised him with significant upgrades to his tech arsenal, a powerful Alienware computer, and the latest Samsung Galaxy Note phone, devices that were less about their monetary value and more about supporting his passion for digital art and staying connected with his family who lived far away. He had been ecstatic, the genuine joy on his face a reward in itself. I knew he was the type to pay it forward, to reciprocate generosity in his own quiet, meaningful way, and as the holiday season approached, I could sense a special excitement brewing in him, a barely contained secret he was eager to unveil. He would often talk about how much he appreciated my support, how I always pushed him to pursue his creative endeavors. We'd spend evenings poring over online reviews for the newest gadgets, me feigning mild interest while secretly knowing he was likely gathering intel for a future surprise. My old iPhone was showing its age, its battery clinging to life by a thread, and my ancient MacBook Pro, a relic from 2009, struggled to even open a web page without a direct Ethernet cable. I loved my tech, but I was also practical, content to make do. Still, the thought of an upgrade, particularly one chosen with David's meticulous care, filled me with a quiet, hopeful anticipation. One blustery December afternoon, just weeks before Christmas, David texted me from work, his message bubbling with barely contained glee. "The package arrived. It's waiting for you." My heart gave a little flutter. This was it. The surprise. He had been so careful to keep it under wraps, meticulously tracking its journey and planning its delivery. He had even ensured it would arrive when I was home, a perfect setup for the grand reveal. I practically flew up the stairs to our apartment building, keys jingling, a wide smile spreading across my face. I imagined unboxing a sleek new laptop, maybe a vibrant new phone, and then calling David to gush about his incredible thoughtfulness. But as I reached our door, the hallway was empty. No oversized brown box leaning against the frame, no familiar white label with my name. My smile faltered. I checked around the corner, peered into the stairwell, even glanced hopefully down the hall towards our neighbor's door. Nothing. A cold knot began to form in my stomach, distinct from the winter chill. I texted David, a slight tremor in my fingers. "No package here. Are you sure?" His immediate reply, tinged with confusion, only deepened my unease. It said, "Delivered." "I have the confirmation right here." Minutes later, my phone rang. It was David, his voice tight with a mixture of disbelief and growing panic. "Eleanor, I'm at the police station," he said, his voice strained. "I reported it. Both of them. The iPhone and the laptop. Someone stole them." The words hung in the air, heavy and dark. The festive bubble around me burst, replaced by a suffocating sense of disbelief. My mind reeled. An iPhone. A laptop. Not just any gifts, but my gifts, chosen with such love and care, now gone, snatched away before they even had a chance to be cherished. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The tears came quickly, hot and stinging, blurring my vision. It wasn't just about the lost items, though they were expensive. It was the crushing weight of a ruined gesture, the defilement of a moment that should have been pure joy. David had poured his heart into this, trying to do something truly magnificent for me, and some heartless stranger had simply taken it. The surprise was not just ruined, it was poisoned. "I feel terrible, David," I choked out, tears streaming down my face. "You tried to do something so generous and it's gone. This thief ruined Christmas." David's voice, though still laced with worry, softened. "Don't you dare feel terrible, Eleanor. This isn't your fault. Not in the slightest. This is on them. I have the police report." I spoke to the officer. He told me to trust the process, let law enforcement do their thing. His words were meant to be reassuring, and they helped a little, but the sting of betrayal lingered. The idea that someone would deliberately steal from others, especially during a time of year meant for giving, felt like a deep violation of trust, not just in our community, but in the very spirit of human decency. It was more than an inconvenience. It felt like a direct assault on the peace we had worked so hard to cultivate. That Christmas, we spent time with our families as planned, but a quiet sadness hung over me like a persistent cloud. Every twinkling light and caroling tune felt like a stark contrast to the hollow ache in my chest. David, ever the protector, tried to offer me replacement gifts of monetary value, but I refused. "It's not about getting a new phone or a new laptop, David," I explained, my voice heavy. "It's about what happened. It feels tainted. Like buying a replacement would just be trying to erase it, and I don't want to do that. Not right now." It felt important to acknowledge the violation, to not simply sweep it under the rug with a quick fix. Instead, he turned to his strengths. He presented me with a small, hand-painted watercolor of our apartment building, vibrant with the colors of autumn, a testament to his artistic talent and our shared home. He gave me a box of my favorite dark chocolate truffles, a small indulgence that always brought a smile to my face. And then, with a twinkle in his eye, he handed me a handmade coupon booklet. Inside, carefully inscribed with elegant script, were vouchers I could redeem for home-cooked dinner, any cuisine, one full body massage, laundry day takeover, and apartment sparkle and shine full clean. These simple, heartfelt gestures, born of his love and creativity, felt infinitely more precious than any high-tech gadget. They reminded me of what truly mattered: our connection, our resilience, and his unwavering support. Still, life had to go on. While we waited, navigating the frustrating limbo of a pending investigation, I found myself relying on outdated technology. David's brother, bless his heart, lent me his old iPhone 5. It was a stark reminder of how quickly technology evolved and how far behind I now was. Applications would crash regularly, the screen often froze, and typing on the tiny keyboard felt like a cruel joke compared to the sleek devices everyone else seemed to effortlessly use. It was a functional stopgap, but a constant, irritating reminder of the high-end phone that had been stolen. My 2009 MacBook Pro, though technically operational, was another source of continuous frustration. It had been a workhorse in its prime, but now it wheezed and groaned with every click. The most significant issue, the bane of my existence, was its inability to connect to the internet wirelessly. To get online, I had to physically plug an Ethernet cable into its port. This meant being tethered to the wall, hunched over a desk, a far cry from the freedom and flexibility I'd grown accustomed to with modern laptops. Simple tasks like checking emails or doing research for work became an arduous chore, every delay a sharp jab of annoyance that compounded the underlying stress of the theft. Weeks bled into months. Life, in its relentless flow, carried us forward. We went back to our jobs, focused on our careers, and navigated the everyday complexities of family and friends. The theft, while still a heavy weight in our minds, gradually shifted to the back burner, a simmering anxiety that occasionally bubbled to the surface. David would receive extremely limited updates from the investigators, brief and often vague, offering little in the way of concrete progress. It felt like we were in a holding pattern, waiting for a signal that might never come. The holiday decorations came down, packed away with the bittersweet memories of a Christmas tainted by loss. Winter's icy grip slowly loosened, replaced by the tentative green shoots of spring. My birthday came and went, another milestone passed with the unresolved shadow of the stolen gifts lingering. We celebrated with cake and laughter, but I couldn't help but feel a small part of me was still stuck in that cold December day. The seasons truly changed. Early spring unfolded into mid to late springtime. The days grew longer, the sun warmer, and the promise of summer began to hum in the air. It felt like an eternity had passed, yet the situation remained unchanged. I tried to put it out of my mind, to fully immerse myself in the present, but every time I wrestled with the ancient MacBook Pro or cursed at the sluggish iPhone 5, the frustration would bubble up. David, too, carried the burden. He'd often sigh, staring into the distance, clearly still bothered by the whole ordeal. We both wanted closure, but the lack of movement made it feel increasingly hopeless. Had they simply given up? Would we ever know who had done this? The thought of the thief simply getting away with it, enjoying what was meant to be mine, was a bitter pill to swallow. Then, one warm afternoon in late spring, a phone call broke through the quiet hum of our routine. I was working from home, wrestling with the Ethernet cable, when David called, his voice now not just urgent, but tinged with a strange mix of disbelief and triumph. "Eleanor," he started, a pause, then a breathy laugh. "You're not going to believe this. I just got off the phone with the detective. They found it." Well, they found him. My heart leaped into my throat. After all this time, all the waiting, all the frustration, there was finally movement. "The iPhone," David continued, his voice picking up speed. "Remember how Apple didn't flag it immediately? Well, they tracked it. And guess what? This jackass didn't even sell it. He waited a few weeks, and then he used our stolen iPhone for his own device upgrade." My eyes widened, a cold, hard knot of fury and astonishment forming in my stomach. The audacity, the sheer stupidity. A surge of something akin to vindication, fierce and exhilarating, coursed through me. He had been so brazen, so careless, so utterly arrogant. The silence that followed was thick with the weight of revelation. My mind flashed back to the endless frustration, the ruined Christmas, the feeling of violation. And now this. The pieces, slowly but surely, were starting to fall into place. Needless to say, David concluded, a dark chuckle escaping him, dude was cooked. And in that moment, for the first time in months, a glimmer of true hope, of impending justice, ignited within me. The long, agonizing wait was finally over, and the tide was about to turn. The initial days after the theft blurred into a frustrating fog of disappointment and worry. My boyfriend, Mark, was a rock, trying his best to reassure me, but the hollow feeling of that ruined Christmas lingered. We had done our part, filed a report, and now we were simply waiting. The world, however, continued to spin, heedless of our particular misfortune. Life, as it always does, marched on. The festive twinkle of Christmas lights faded, replaced by the crisp, biting air of January. Mark and I settled back into our routines, our jobs, our social lives, the quiet rhythm of our shared apartment in Hazleton. We still talked about the theft, of course, but it became less of a frantic, immediate concern and more of a low hum of anxiety in the background. My temporary setup, Mark's brother's old iPhone 5 and my ancient, hardware-dependent 2009 MacBook Pro, was a constant, irritating reminder of what we'd lost. Every time I had to hunt for an Ethernet cable to get online, a fresh wave of annoyance washed over me. Mark would occasionally get a call from the police department, usually just a brief check-in that yielded little new information. "They're still investigating, Eleanor," he'd say, his voice tinged with a familiar weariness. "Said it's a slow process, but they haven't forgotten about it." I tried to be patient truly, but the uncertainty gnawed at me. It felt like our situation had been shunted to the back burner, just one small case among many in a busy police precinct. Winter thawed into the gentle awakening of spring. The trees in our neighborhood blossomed, and the days grew longer, hinting at the warmth of summer just around the corner. Birthdays passed, including my own, marked by a quiet celebration with Mark and our families. The theft, while not forgotten, had receded further into the background of our daily lives. We were generally preoccupied with our careers, our families, and our plans for the future. Then, just as the first truly warm days of mid to late springtime arrived, Mark received a call that broke through the monotonous quiet. I was making dinner, the aroma of garlic and herbs filling the kitchen, when I heard his voice shift from polite listening to an abrupt, sharp intake of breath. "Eleanor, you need to hear this," he said, his voice tight with a mixture of disbelief and a surging wave of anger. He held the phone away from his ear, putting it on speaker so I could hear the detective's calm, measured tone. "Mr. Vance," the detective was saying, "we've had a significant development regarding your stolen devices. Specifically, the iPhone." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What is it?" I whispered, moving closer to Mark. "It seems the individual responsible for the theft wasn't clever enough to sell the phone right away," the detective continued. "He waited a few weeks, likely thinking the heat was off, and then activated the device. He used it as his own personal upgrade. A stunned silence fell over our kitchen. My jaw dropped. "Are you serious?" I blurted out, unable to believe the audacity. This wasn't just a random act. It was a brazen, personal insult. He hadn't just stolen our property. He had taken possession of it, making it his own. "Absolutely," the detective confirmed. "Because it was an unlocked, unrestricted iPhone, paid off in full by you, Mr. Vance, it wasn't immediately flagged by Apple as stolen. That gave us the opening we needed. Once he activated it, we were able to track the device's unique identifier to an address." Mark ran a hand through his hair, a grim smile spreading across his face. "So, he's cooked." "He's definitely on the stove, Mr. Vance," the detective said, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. "Warrants and subpoenas have been served on the devices and the person it was tracked back to. We've even executed a search warrant on his house." The news ignited a fire within me. It wasn't just about getting our stuff back anymore. It was about holding someone accountable for their blatant disregard for others, for ruining a deeply personal gesture of love. This wasn't petty theft. This was a calculated violation of our sense of security and joy. The subsequent weeks felt like a whirlwind of activity, even though most of it was happening behind the scenes, orchestrated by law enforcement. Mark received more frequent updates, each one adding a new layer to the unfolding drama. It turned out that the individual who had stolen our package wasn't just a lone opportunist. They found evidence of a lot of other theft reports in his house, Eleanor, Mark told me one evening, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and anger. He's apparently involved in a massive, bigger package theft ring. He was already on the police radar for quite some time. The realization hit me hard. Our experience, painful as it was, wasn't isolated. It was part of a larger, more insidious network of crime that preyed on unsuspecting people. The thief wasn't just a desperate individual. He was a key player in a systematic operation that exploited the trust people placed in the delivery system, especially during the holidays. This elevated the conflict far beyond a simple package theft. It was a battle against a criminal enterprise. My personal heartbreak now felt like a symptom of a much larger societal problem. Then came the truly shocking revelation. "You won't believe who it is," Mark said one afternoon, his voice barely above a whisper. He'd just hung up with the detective. The guy who stole our package. He was the delivery driver. My blood ran cold. The very person entrusted with delivering our package, the one who should have been a symbol of reliability and service, was the one who betrayed that trust in the most egregious way. It was a complete violation, not just of property, but of trust and public expectation. He had abused his position, using his access to orchestrate his crimes. The police had suspected him early on. Our case, along with dozens of others, had become part of a substantially larger sting operation that spanned across the metro area on the East Coast. They had been building a case, meticulously gathering evidence. The thief, in his arrogance, had even listed my brand new laptop on one of those online selling platforms that facilitate in-person meetups. It was the perfect trap. An undercover cop went through the whole process to try to meet up with him to buy the laptop, Mark explained, his voice crackling with anticipation. In person. They were waiting for him to make a move, to incriminate himself further, and he walked right into it. The thought of it sent a thrill of vindication through me. He was so messy, so overconfident, so used to getting away with it, that he thought he could sell his stolen goods directly. It was poetic justice. The sting operation unfolded quickly after that. While I wasn't privy to all the exact details, it was Mark's case, his purchase, his missing package. I imagined the scene, the moment of truth. The detective confirmed it was a swift, efficient arrest. The man who had caused us so much heartache was finally apprehended. The news spread through our small circle like wildfire. Our friends and family were equally relieved and outraged. Mark and I felt a profound sense of validation, but also a growing understanding of the depths of this kind of criminal activity. It wasn't just about our iPhone and laptop, it was about all the other people this man and his ring had hurt. The wheels of justice, while slow, did grind forward. We learned that the thief, due to the scale of his operations and the federal nature of the charges, faced significant time in federal prison. While I didn't get details on whether he was specifically sentenced to repay restitution for our items, the broader outcome was clear. He was held accountable. This was not just a slap on the wrist. It was a substantial consequence for his actions. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Apple shipped the replacement devices. Mark, ever cautious, had them sent to his parents' local Apple store this time, ensuring they'd be safe from further theft. The laptop arrived first, much earlier than the iPhone, sometime mid-semester right after midterms. It was a new, sleek model, a tangible sign that the ordeal was truly coming to an end. But it was the iPhone, which arrived after July 4th, that truly felt like closure. Holding it in my hand, unwrapping the new, pristine device, was more than just receiving a gadget. It was a symbol of reclaiming what was rightfully ours, of justice prevailing. The journey from that heartbroken Christmas morning to finally holding my replacement gifts was long and winding. It took several months, filled with frustration, waiting, and a roller coaster of emotions. But when Mark finally told me everything that had happened, every step of the investigation, every detail of the sting operation, it was, in the end, worth it. This experience, while deeply personal and initially very painful, forced me to look beyond my immediate grief. I saw how a seemingly small act of theft could be part of a vast, interconnected criminal network. It made me realize the importance of perseverance, of not giving up, and of trusting that the systems in place, however slow, can work. It also taught me the power of collective action, of how one reported theft can become a piece of a larger puzzle that brings down a criminal enterprise. This wasn't just about getting my gifts back. It was about reclaiming a sense of security and fairness. The anger I felt initially transformed into a deeper understanding of resilience. I realized that my personal story could be a voice for others who had been victims of similar crimes. In the aftermath, I found myself drawn to community initiatives focused on consumer protection and online safety. I started volunteering with a local organization that educated people about package theft prevention, sharing my story as a cautionary tale, but also as a testament to the power of reporting and pursuing justice. I learned that true empowerment isn't just about individual victory, but about turning personal hardship into a catalyst for positive change that benefits everyone. The thief's actions, intended to cause harm, inadvertently propelled me toward a path of advocacy and greater civic engagement. My revenge wasn't just seeing him punished. It was about ensuring fewer people would suffer the same fate, building a stronger, more vigilant community in Hazleton.